Live from Atlanta, Georgia, it's the Zach Ballinger Show, where we help you find your direction through passion and purpose. My name is Zach Ballinger, your host here today. So excited to have you guys join. Um, just a little bit about the format of the show. We will kick it off with some lightning round questions to get to know our guest a little bit better. We'll go into more of a long format questions. And if you guys are out there listening live via YouTube, you can go to the YouTube stream, The Zach Ballinger Show. You can ask questions right in the comment section, as well as Facebook Live. You can ask questions to our guest about her career, and you're more than welcome to do that. So without further ado, Angie, thank you so much for joining the show today. We really are excited.
Thank you, Zach. It's a pleasure.
So, Angie, I'll just begin by asking you a question. What is your current occupation and your title?
I'm cosmetologist, hairstylist, owner of just a one-person salon. Just me.
And how many years have you been a hairstylist?
It was 25 years in March.
Wow, congratulations on your anniversary.
Thank you.
And what do you like about your job? What are you passionate about? What's kept you in this field?
Oh gosh, so many things. I love making people feel great about themselves, and they can come in and be having the worst of days or not feeling well, and by the time they leave here, they're like on cloud nine and all smiles. And within a matter of a few minutes or a few hours, I can change their entire look. It's just great. I love it.
It's awesome. And so this is kind of a hard question for some folks, but what do you like least about your job, or something that may be kind of hard to deal with or annoying?
I would have to say the hours that I have to put in to make it work, and not only the hours that I'm here, but because I am the owner and just myself, I choose to not work with anyone else or have anyone work under me. And it comes on me after hours. People are texting and like, hey, can I get in? Or like, hey, I'm going to have to cancel. Can I switch to another day? Just, the adjustments and, sending pictures of like, oh, do you think this is possible next time? Or, things like that are all after hours. And I try to put that aside and not really do that so much, but it's just very hard. I always give in, and I'm a people pleaser, so I always just give in and do it, no matter if it's 10:30, 11 at night. So, that's just one of the perks that's with it,
That makes sense. And so what does a typical day look like for you? When you get out, when you get up, what does it kind of look like?
Well, usually I'm not a very early morning person, so I kind of start my day about 9:30, something like that, and I come rolling in at the last minute. But good thing is I've got my clientele is very established, and they all know me and know me well, and they're okay with it, So we go in, and a lot of times it's kind of repetitive, like in a way, because I kind of know what they're coming in to get done. But sometimes they throw something at me and we're like, oh, sure, we can do that today, So,
Makes sense. And, like as a hairstylist, let's say somebody's out there listening and this is something that they want to pursue. What kind of certifications or schooling do they need to do?
Well, you go, like I myself went to Tennessee School of Beauty in Oak Ridge, Tennessee at the time, but it is a 1,500-hour course, and you just have to go in there, and you can finish it, I think, in as little as 10 months, or it can take you up to 14 months, depending on how much time you want to actually commit and be there. Like after a certain number of hours, you can stay longer at school, but you have to get a certain amount of hours in before you can do that. But, and typically in that you start off, your first half of your day is all classwork and testing and things like that. And then the rest of the day becomes like hands-on and stuff.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. And then what did you dream about being when you were a kid? It doesn't have to be hair, just something you grew up and you remember. Anything?
Yeah, actually, for as long as I can remember, I wanted to be a nurse, but I just after a while, it just became like, I loved doing hair, but I was kind of told as a child that like, oh, you can't make a living doing that, and so I kind of put that aside for a while, and I thought about the nursing, but there was so much school, and I'm not great with school. So as I got older, I just decided later in life that I was like, I think I can do this, and I think I can make it work. So I had to give it a shot, and here I am. So. You can do anything, don't let anyone tell you that you can't, because you can make money at whatever your passion is.
And that's kind of what my show's around. So many oftentimes we think of people that hate their job and that are making all this money. And sometimes you don't realize when you start putting your work behind your passion or your passion behind your work, it can suddenly change your income. Now, does that mean everybody is wealthy and a millionaire that's passionate about their work? No, but more often than not, I do find people that are passionate about their work. The money kind of coincides. So the next question I have for you, a lot of the audience doesn't realize this, but you actually used to cut my hair when I had hair.
You had hair.
I don't have hair anymore, so there wouldn't be a problem. Wouldn't take much time. But one of the things when I went to you really, I could tell, and this was a long time ago when I did have hair, that you really did love your job.
Yes.
You took time with your clients, you explained everything. But let's talk about it on the flip side. And you were always, if somebody was like, I don't like this about my hair, or needs to change, you never rushed a client, and you spent time with them. What are some of the keys to making customers happy in your business? Because I'm sure there are people that are going to listen to this being like, how can I own a successful salon? And one of them is actually customer retention. So talk to me about your customer service.
Well, I just personally, for me anyways, I am a perfectionist, which can be, a downfall at times, but I feel like I have to just do it until I feel personally it's just right, And so usually when I have gotten it just right within myself, then they're usually beyond great with it. They're like, oh, well, I don't see what's wrong with it, but okay, So I'm usually the one that's like, oh, no, I need to tweak this a little bit or that, But it's all about like making the client happy and, listening to what they want and, what they're happy with. So.
And talk about, you went from hairstylist to owner. Now, what made you want to decide to own your own salon? That's my first question. Like, how did you get, because I do recommend people actually working in the field before they actually owning something, and you did that for years. So talk to me about that transition.
Well, I worked with someone local for 14 years and got a feel for it. And eventually I started renting my station from her. And after I got a feel for that, that felt more like ownership, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so it just became that I really liked the idea that I was booking my own appointments for myself. I was allotting the time that I needed for myself because, I personally don't work well with shifting a lot of clients around at a time. I personally do a more one-on-one level. And yes, I could make more money if I did do, 3 clients at a time and shift around. But I personally feel like I don't want my clients to ever feel like they're just a number, that their time is valuable and I'm focused on them at that time. And so after feeling that and just knowing how I wanted things done and like I'm a neat freak and just all these things played a part in the fact that I was like, I think I'm ready for ownership, so to go it solo.
And what's it like? I think people get this glamorous picture of owning a business, and I don't think they realize what's behind the scenes. Talk to me about like the hours you spend. What's some things different from owning your salon to just being a hairstylist?
Well, as I got more into the ownership and my clientele, more and more clientele, my typical day, I'm in the shop from around 9:30 to anywhere from like 7 to 8 o'clock. There have been nights I've been here till 9 or 10 o'clock. Just if something did go wrong, I'm not going to let you walk out with it, so I have to fix it. But, there's just a lot and I do feel, some people choose to like open a salon right away. I personally don't recommend that. You really need to get a feel for your everyday ins and outs, and you've got to be prepared financially for the cost of your building, the cost of your electric, your water, your own utilities, things like that. And then also it takes a lot to make this business run that you have to put back into it. Like, people don't see that when you go to your supply store and you spend $300-400 at a time, you've got to figure in your head, am I going to come out ahead by what I'm doing and what I'm charging? And, so there's a lot that goes back into it, and a lot of, like I said before, after hours time of, preparing for proms or weddings or, big events, things like that you're, committed to. So, and sometimes that involves going out on location too. Like I've done a few wedding parties where I went to, an hour drive away or things like that to do the wedding party, or, I hate to say this, but like funeral homes, nursing homes, things like that, So.
Yeah, I think it's a world of difference. Plus, nobody would have predicted the coronavirus hitting, where you had to pretty much shut down for a few months, as well as get used to the protocols. How's that? During that challenging time for you, especially because with the state regulations, you heard one day you were open, one day you weren't. So that had to be stressful too, right?
Yes, and the way I do my books and stuff and my clientele, it's already set up on my books, so that really threw a wrench into everything when I had to shut down. Thankfully, I was only shut down for 1 month, but still shifting all those appointments around. And to make it worse, we were told, I think a total of maybe 3 different dates that we were getting to open, and then it would be like, nope, sorry, can't open. So then I was readjusting, and I would literally spend 2 days on my couch at home with my books, phone in hand, calling, texting, clients, readjusting. I'm so sorry, but we're not getting to open after all. And it was a headache, but we got it done. And I just asked everyone to be patient, and I got them all back in, made up for, and everybody was like, oh, very understanding. So that was good. But,
Yeah, and so you talk about what's some of the stuff that you do outside of work. You obviously put in all these hours in the salon, and you're good at cutting hair and being a stylist. But what's some of the things you enjoy in your free time?
Well, I enjoy singing. I have this app, and I sing. So not very good, but I love it. So I love the singing. I love spending time with my daughter, and I have a granddaughter that's 3 now, and she's my world. So, every chance I get, I spend with her.
Awesome. And, Angie, I think for something that, I kind of did a hit and run on, but I want to go back on it. You worked in that particular salon before you owned it for 14 years. I think that's so critical when we talk about businesses. A lot of times I think that even for me, or millennials or even people get a business idea, and it's automatically, if they don't have experience in that field, they get excited about it without knowing the ins and outs.
Mhm.
And I think it's so important for what you've done is, first of all, you worked at a particular salon before you actually purchased it and now own it. So you understood what goes behind, because it changes when you own a business to more than cutting hair. It's more of operating the business and cutting the hair. And so I really recommend for people out there that want to go into business is to really do it either on the side or start off at an entry level position. Yours even wasn't even that entry level. It was just you working right in the field. And I think that's kind of what sets you up for success, because I think you would agree, for 14 years you were in the same community and you were able to establish your name where you had these loyal clients, where you didn't feel as much of a risk of owning the salon because you had built up this clientele. Would that be accurate?
Yes. Um, you know, that's one thing I'd like to touch on is like when you, um, like when I was in the salon working with someone else, she kind of put out there that, like, I tell you what, like, if you start off and you're just starting new, you're building clientele, if you have every week that you don't have a certain amount made, I will kind of cover to do that. And that was, because I'll tell you the first bit, I put a walk-ins welcome sign in the window, and I went home many nights crying to myself and saying, I think I've chosen the wrong path. I only did 2 clients today, or, but each day got better and better. And as you build your name and word of mouth, and people are like, well, hey, I love that. Let me book another, appointment with you. And then eventually, I got to the point where I was like, I remember the day and how important it was. Sounds trivial, but I remember the day that I walked over to the window and I was like, it's time. And I took the walk-ins welcome sign down. I was like, I just can't do anymore, like, kind of makes me emotional because it's been a long journey, but a good one. So.
No, and that's one of my questions on the list. When you talk to people in any career field, there's usually setbacks in their stories. And I think that's a perfect example of, a setback for you is that, you get into a hairstylist and you probably start questioning, well, am I any good? I'm not getting any clients. I only have 2 clients. It probably weighs on your psyche too, going forward. How were you able to stay in that? How were you able to stay so dedicated and say, you know what, I'm going to do this?
That's just something in me. I don't give up on things. It's like I'll keep on until I figure it out, and it's like, I just felt confident. I was like, not boasting, but I'm like, I'm good at what I do. I know I have the education and I know, so I can make it work. I was like, I just keep on. It takes time. Just takes time, just don't give up, But, and I would like to say, just to throw this out too, like to start off with, there's a program within high schools that is cosmetology. You may not learn a whole lot there, but I will say you can get started there, and that kind of gives you a feel, because some go into that and they're like, oh no, this is not, they go into it, like you said, thinking, oh, this is going to be fun. There's a lot of education. A lot of people don't realize what all we have to learn. I mean, we have to learn chemistry, anatomy, parts of the body, the diseases, things like that. It's not all fun and games, but that kind of gets you in the window there, and you can see, like, if you like that. Plus, as far as I know, if it's still this way, the hours you earn during your high school vocational, you take that with you and you start beauty school, and those go toward it. So that takes some of your hours that you got to do in regular beauty school after that. So that's a good way to get started there too. And job shadowing, like, don't be afraid to go and job shadow and see what a typical day in a salon is like, And, for me, personal ownership here is like good. It's the best for me. Some may like a big corporate salon where you've got 7, 8 stylists going and you've got like a lot of, to me, chaos going on. I don't work well that way. So it's just for everybody. So get a feel for different types of salons and things like that.
You hit on two things that I consistently go over. Is first, when you're at the high school level and you're thinking about taking a vocational route, why not go ahead and see what it's like there? Because the teacher probably came from the private market and they've already been a part of it. You're going to learn some things, and you're going to learn quickly if you like it or not. And like you said, you're going to learn there's a lot more to it than just cutting hair. There's also a human component to it too, because you can learn on models and stuff like that. But when you start dealing with real customers and they're like, okay, I don't like that haircut. Now, how are you going to react? And you've got to know what to do, when to do that. So, and I think you hit on another point is job shadowing. I'm all for that. That's one of my big things is people want to jump into a career. My famous story is I thought I wanted to be a doctor at one point, and I followed around a doctor for a day. And at the end of the day, I said, how in the world do you do this job? And, they were like, oh, I love it. Did you not like it? And I was like, I got to be honest with you. I could not do this for 2 minutes. Yeah. And so I think it's so important, like you said, is jump right in there and do a job shadow, do an internship, or, if people say I can't get a job shadowing during this time, then talk to somebody in the industry. See what it's like, see if that's a trade-off. So great point by you on that. And so another quick question for you too is, do you have, like, as far as your salon, since you're so well established, do you take new clients now, or is it pretty much your same client base?
It has been same client base and maybe one or two in, but this past year I've had some that have, to be honest, I've lost a few due to this corona. They're just not ready to come back in the salon. Unfortunately, I've had, some of my elderly clients that have passed on, and I've had some that have moved away. So there's a little bit of a turnaround and room for some extras right now. So, it may be that if you call today, it may be 2 weeks or 3 weeks before I can get you in, but I can take a few new ones. I'm just saying that.
I feel that's like the dentist. If you call the dentist right now, they're so backed up, it's going to take you, especially a new dentist, if you're not established, it's going to take you a few months to get in. So that seems reasonable, 2 or 3 weeks just to even get in for a practice that's like yours, that's pretty well booked up. So
and also, where I'm like here by myself, I can only do so much, where a dentist has assistants and things like that. So
absolutely. And are you from the Wartburg area? Now, for the audience that are not from the Tennessee area, Angie's from my hometown, Wartburg, Tennessee. Are you from that area originally?
Well, yes, since I was like 6 years old,
And I think that's a difference too, is there's even a difference as far as you being a hairstylist in a bigger city or in a rural setting. Rural setting, you'll probably have a lot nicer clientele in general. And then the big city, like you said, there's hustle and bustle, and usually you're in more probably of a bigger salon. So you're dealing with, you have to, like you said, there's pods and you have to work in that. So there's a lot of difference in there. And so let's say you have a passion for cutting hair, you may even want to try both a bigger city or even a rural environment to see which one suits you. Is that kind of accurate?
Yes, I would have to say, like with mine, I'm very personable with my clients. I've known, just like you, Zach, it's kind of neat. I guess that's a strange way of putting it, but like that I started off and I was doing these haircuts of these teenagers or children even, and they've grown up and now they bring their children to me. And I know that their dog died last Tuesday, and their mother-in-law has cancer, and they've went through a divorce, they went through an engagement, they got that house that they wanted. I know these personal things about them, and I'm kind of like the therapist, as they say, so it's like, but where your bigger salons, I feel, only because, and I have to touch on this, my daughter became a stylist, and she's chosen not to follow that path right now, but where she was at, and it was a corporate salon, they put their color on, or they put their stuff, and then they go to the back room and wait it out and come out and check on their clients. But I'm right here in this room with my clients the whole time. We conversate, we get to know each other, and I personally love that about it. Some people, they would rather have the distance between their client, but for me personally, I like the personal level and the relationships that I've built over the years.
Yeah, I even remember that. It's kind of crazy. It's been so many years ago, but I remember us having those conversations where it did feel kind of like you were a counselor, therapist.
Yeah.
We could bring you all of our problems. And that was almost, you got a great deal because you got a haircut, plus you got your problem solved. So,
and I will say, when I started in this career, believe it or not, I was so shy, and I was so, but I told myself every day, I've got to get out of that. And now my clients are like, please shut up. So it's just,
awesome.
that was hard to overcome, actually, for me. It's like, especially when I opened my new salon, I went from an environment where there were lots of people around, and I was like, oh goodness, it's quiet in here. And I'm like, I've got to make conversation. So I just learned to talk, and learned to just be just be myself, and like it or not, that's who I am, so.
Right. Well, I did have a couple of questions that came in. So one of the questions, and I keep in mind, obviously, by looking at me, I don't know about hair, so I have no idea what they're talking about. So hopefully you'll be able to help. Does it make a difference what school I go to? So should I go to a well-known school like Paul Mitchell or Avito, or does it really matter?
Just again, on my personal belief, as long as they're accredited, you want that. But, at the time I went to Tennessee School of Beauty, and it's now, since then, there have been other beauty schools come in. I think that a lot of your bigger salons, they're a lot more costly. So you've got to figure on where, if you're going to go to a corporate salon and how much money you're going to make, or whether you're going to be in a small town, of whether you can, what's the word I want to use, make your money back on your education, because you're always going to have continued education. And I try to go and do any kind of classes or, things like that to stay up on the game, and I personally didn't want to be in debt to school the rest, for what I could make, and feel the pressure of paying back, things. Of course, it was a lot less costly 25 years ago than it is today, but still, right. You just have to figure, because you're going to spend more on continued education. That's where you get, so I personally don't feel that you need a bigger name school to go to,
Great advice. Great advice. And then this one is probably from it seems like from a hairstylist already that's in the field, but says, how do you make more tips? So apparently this person must be getting shorted on their tips. I don't know.
I don't personally have much problem with that. People just tip what they feel, but being from a very small town, my prices are considerably lower than even 30 miles away. And yes, sometimes I'm like, well, that doesn't seem fair that I'm not charging double, to get what they're getting in the smaller town. But I figure it's just me. And in a corporate salon, you're having to pay, they're paying every stylist there a minimum, plus your receptionist and things. So I don't really have a problem with that, the people tipping and stuff. I feel I do very well with that. In a bigger salon, I'm not sure personally how you would do that, because your prices are already so much higher than,
right.
What I'm charging. So, and people know that, they're getting a good price where I'm at. And if they went further, they would have to pay a whole lot more. So they kind of compensate tip-wise for me on that. So that's just,
I think you hit on another thing that you said earlier too that might help this particular person is that you show up with a smile on your face and you're willing to listen to them. I've been when I used to have hair and got my hair cut in bigger cities, they wouldn't talk to me, or, they looked like they had the worst day from ever, and I would still tip. But if you come in with that kind of attitude without a smile on your face, and no matter, it's kind of like serving food, whatever bad day you've had, you've kind of got to park that right at the door when you start seeing clients. And it's all about how you communicate, your smile. Hey, how was your day? Now, some clients don't like to talk, I'm sure, but you can kind of sniff that out and see if, hey, how was your day? What did you do? And if they're like, yeah, good, sure, then you can kind of tell that they'd rather just enjoy it. But you also have to kind of use a little bit your emotional intelligence, I'm sure, as well. So, well, Angie, thank you so much for this. This is great. I'm so glad you were able to join the show. We've had a lot of people that have been interested in this type of career field. I think it's going to be a great asset for people to listen to later down the line when they're searching for either a hairstylist or if they actually do want to own their salon. So this will be uploaded on Spotify and iTunes, as well as YouTube and Facebook. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, and I'm honored to have been a guest today. Thank you very much.
Okay, audience, until next time, we'll see you.